Okay, should be recording now. My name's Henry. This is one of our listening sessions for the Vanguard Robo-Advisor. And participants, if you could go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name is Andrew Howard.
Hi, I'm Sara Roark.
So we'll go ahead and get started with some questions about your financial status. Could you guys kind of tell me about your employment?
So I'm a teacher. I teach high school. So that means I'm employed for 10 months out of the year as opposed to 12. Um, I have some investment accounts set up through my teaching. I have a 403B, which is the public education's version of a 401k. And then I also have a Roth IRA. I make after taxes about $40,000 a year, but I do supplement my income with nanny jobs throughout the summer and school year.
So I am an assistant manager at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I work pretty typical 9 to 5, either 5 or 6 days a week. And I've been working there for about a year and a half. I have a 401k set up through my company with a Fidelity account. And I have a Fidelity account with some personal investments as well. I recently sold a lot of my investments, so I'm looking to continue to save so I can put some more money into my personal investment account. And yeah.
Awesome. And can you guys kind of tell me a bit about some financial goals y'all may have, like short-term and long-term?
So I would say our top short-term goals are paying off all of our debt. The only debt we currently have between the two of us is a car payment. That's my technical debt, but we do merge our finances for the most part. Paying off our debt, I would say buying an engagement ring, and saving for a wedding are our three top financial goals right now. Long term, our 5-year plan would definitely be to purchase a property because we are renting currently. So I would say in the next 2 years, we should definitely have all those smaller goals accomplished. And then long term, after we're married, the house will be the number one priority.
And then eventually trading in your car and buying another car.
Yes.
So upgrading.
Yeah,
there.
upgrading to a larger vehicle because we both drive sedans right now.
Would you consider that a more short-term goal or more long-term, you think?
Buying a new car,
Yes.
I would say it's probably a 2-year goal.
Within 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's before the house for sure.
Got it. Do you guys intend to eventually start a family?
Yes.
Yes.
I would say that was probably about a 5-year goal as well.
Okay.
Within the next 5 years.
Awesome.
Bless you.
So, I guess if we could go into spending habits slash behaviors a little bit. First, I want you to both describe your own spending habits and then describe the other spending habits. So start with yourself.
I would say I'm definitely more of the consumer in our household. So I usually am the one in charge of purchasing. Obviously, like I said, we combine our finances, but I'm the one initiating all purchases of things like household goods, any groceries, any luxurious goods usually come from me. They start from me. So like upgrading a piece of furniture, that would usually start with me. We spend money on the typical things like streaming accounts. We subscribe to pretty much all the streaming accounts. We have internet in our home. We have a few other subscriptions. We have, like for Murphy, our pet, we have a meal subscription for him. We have insurance for both each other and him as well. So I would say I'm more definitely the one doing the majority of the spending. And I would say that I, while try to be frugal, I definitely am the more, when it comes time to spend money on more expensive things, I'm usually the one initiating that.
Got it.
I would say for myself, I find myself trying to mitigate some of Sarah's spending when it comes to shopping or wanting a new piece of furniture or wanting something for the house like a decoration. Um, so I always try to get her justification behind these purchases and ask a question like, do we really need this? So I find myself in somewhat of a cost control mindset when it comes to finances. um, that being said, I tend to be the one more to initiate um, wanting to go out to eat or go spend money on entertainment such as movies or going out to get drinks. That's something that I tend to find value in, spending our money on as well as experiences.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if Sarah Kay, if you could start sort of describing what you've observed to be Howie's spending style.
I would say Howie's definitely more conservative overall with spending. But one thing I will say about him versus I is even though I am the one spending more money, I would say I'm more frugal. So he, we, well, I don't know if we touched on this yet, but he had a much different upbringing than I did. So I would say, he's fine with the money being spent, like, if a certain amount needs to be spent, but where I look to cut corners more, even though I'm spending more overall. So I would say you're conservative, but you're not necessarily concise with spending overall.
Yeah, that's all
And you can describe me now.
right. Yeah, I would say you definitely hit the point there with I grew up in a more financially stable household, so I grew up with name brand stuff from the grocery store. I know that's something that you will tend to look to get more generic brands and try to find sales and coupons where I didn't grow up in that environment, so it's not something I'm as conditioned to look out for. Um, as well as I touched previously on about wanting to spend money on entertainment and stuff like that. I find myself justifying more that it's worth it to spend extra money on those things than you do, where you're more looking to, you know, create those experiences at home.
Yeah. I think the big difference between us is I still would say I spend the most more money overall, but I look for more ways to stretch that money. So
Mm,
like money, I don't think of it as, oh, we're gonna save this, is, oh, we can spend it elsewhere. Like I don't drink alcohol because to me that's not like worth the price, but I would rather go spend it on clothes, whereas you value that experience and you're gonna drink the alcohol and then maybe like be like, oh, we couldn't get that other thing.
Mhm.
got it. Can you guys kind of tell me, you don't have to get into specifics, but if you wouldn't mind telling me a bit about how the income breakdown or like the income equity in your household is.
Yeah, so like I said, I make about $40,000 after taxes each year. I would say you may probably make about 60 after taxes. So there's definitely a Andrew bring or Howie brings in more of the money overall, but I would say we probably roughly end up spending the same amount each month. He just typically has more to roll over into savings, which is fine with me because he's saving up for the goals that we have short term, like engagement rings, cars, all that. He will be expected to pay for more of that because he saves more. So we don't really, because we lump all our money together and our savings together, we don't really see it as like one of us has more than the other. But I would say even though there's a big, $20,000 discrepancy in our income, we spend roughly the same amount. Just an example of how usually I pay for the groceries every week, which ends up being about probably $200. And he usually pays for us to go out to eat on the weekends, which is probably about $200. So that's just an example.
Got it. Okay. Hold on one second. Okay, so next, if you had $10,000 right now to invest, um, how would you choose to do so?
Um, personally, I think the best investment would be land. So I would personally would have already purchased land or a house if I were able to, but unfortunately with the housing market that we're in now, it requires a lot more saving than it used to. So that would be, my first instinct would be to use that money for a down payment on the house.
Yeah, even though our short-term goals are not that, if we did come into a lump sum of money, I agree, it would go directly into property. And we would maybe even push off those other short-term goals because we would want to invest as much as we could into that.
Absolutely. Okay, perfect. So I know that you guys both have familiarity with investing already. How would you guys consider yourselves in terms of financial articulacy?
I would say, a beginner. There's a lot with investing that I don't fully understand. Looking at the markets and the trends and knowing which types of investments are the best for me are something that I feel like I can get lost in a sea of articles and videos and hearing different advice from whether it be friends or my parents. I feel like there's a lot I could still learn about
Okay.
I would say I'm probably a step above a beginner. I teach high school financial literacy, so I would say I'm pretty well versed in the terminology and how it works, like the difference between different types of investment accounts and retirement specifically. But I would still say that I would probably need a third party person if I was looking at specific investments.
Do either or both of you come from backgrounds, like for example, in your either in your family or like even from your upbringing that you feel like have aided you in your current financial knowledge?
So my dad is a financial advisor. So I feel like he's been able to teach me a lot,
Mm.
but also at the same time, when I ask him for investment strategies, he kind of tells me, "Oh, just go with what you like, go with what you think will do well." He's like, at the end of the day, it's so unpredictable
Yeah.
what you invest in that nobody really can predict it. So just he basically just summed it up with stick with what you know, for me. But I have been able to learn a lot about, smart saving strategies from him, how to budget, and different terminologies that I probably would not know otherwise.
Yeah. I would say my mom is very financially literate and grew up in poverty. So now she really knows a lot about money. She's who manages my retirement accounts. And anytime I have any financial questions, I refer to her. But I would just say that coming from a background of poverty helps to make me more critical with my financial decisions.
So next, if I could have you guys tell me a bit about the sort of investments that you have currently and their risk level.
So, because I don't have any personal investments outside of my retirement accounts, I have what's called a mix of both low tolerance and high tolerance. One thing I teach my children about in my class is that with retirement, it's okay for them to be risky when you're in your 20s and even your 30s when you're 10, 20, even 30 years away from retirement, but definitely as I approach retirement age, that's when I would definitely shift to pretty much all low risk tolerance because there's a shorter period of time. But because the market even short term is like this, like a roller coaster, but long term is a steady upward trend. It's okay for this short term period of time when I'm in my 20s for my investments to be more risky. But if I had private personal investments like Andrew did that I might need to dip into before retirement age, I would make sure that portfolio is probably completely low risk.
Okay.
Yeah, currently I have a low risk strategy with my 401k, and currently in my personal investments, I also have taken a low risk approach. I have been looking to increase the risk on some more volatile stocks to possibly yield a higher return, but do feel like I don't know enough about the market to make a well-educated decision in that. So I do feel like I could get some more advice from a financial advisor on the best way to approach that risky approach. I have in the past done more risky investments when the GME and AMC stocks were booming. I got in at the beginning of that and was able to get out before it dipped. So I was able to actually double my returns in that. So obviously that was a unique case, but looking to towards the future, I would like to diversify my investments to possibly yield a return like that.
Yeah, and also because our goal of investment into property is a relatively 5 years is short term if you really think about it. We'll definitely want to be low risk because we will likely be asserting all those funds into a property within the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay, got it. Um, how much time do you guys feel like you have to spend toward thinking about finances and investing currently?
Currently I feel like I don't have enough time because I do work a lot. I average about 50 hours a week right now. So I feel like when I get home from work, I'm just looking to, relax, go to the gym, make dinner, go to bed. And then on the weekends, that's when I try to have my leisure time. So I don't feel like I have a ton of time to think about it, but I do try to make that time throughout my weeks.
Yeah. For me, I'm kind of in a similar boat right now. I think about it a little bit more just with the nature of my job that I talk about it all day long. And just that since my income is significantly lower, a large chunk of my income does go towards those retirement accounts. So I am thinking about it more. But I think when we get engaged within the next 6 months or so, and I think that's when we'll probably approach a financial advisor about truly blending our assets, because one thing about us right now with my income being so low and Andrew having these short-term goals like buying an engagement ring, I feel like we are definitely only having enough to put aside towards our specific investments. But as that short-term goal is ticked off, and he will likely be making more money in the next 6 months or so because he will be promoted, I think that's when we'll start having enough money to really set aside and have to decide how we're going to approach that. So I think that's when we will likely consult a financial advisor of some sort. I also because of the nature of my job, I get off early. I'm off by 2:30 each day, which is when I usually will pick up babysitting, nannying. And during the summer, when I'm off completely, I'll be nannying full time. So that's a time that I will also probably, that money, none of that will be contributing to any type of retirement account because it's non-taxed under the table babysitting money. So that's probably when I'll start to think about what I want to do specifically with that money. And also a goal of mine for next summer is to save enough money throughout the year to where I will still work next summer, but I won't have to work to pay for certain things. So that's another goal of mine for next year.
Got it. Thank you. Um, so could you kind of tell me, um, I guess like how likely you guys are to use a digital advisor versus like an in-person financial advisor? And
So
what,
oh, I'm sorry.
no, I was
I
just,
actually currently use Rocket Money. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it tracks your spending and it also links to your credit cards. So it can see like how much you're spending through your bank accounts and your credit cards each month, and also tracks like if you want to have a certain amount set aside. So I use that mainly to pick up on patterns in my spending and any subscriptions that I have that might not be active anymore.
Yeah, I would say I am likely to use a virtual financial advisor, because I do it. The benefit for me would be if it were cheaper than an in-person one.
Mhm.
Um, Being financially aware, I would want to cut costs in something like that if I could. But that being said, I tend to have more trust like based in an actual in-person advisor.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit more skepticism for me as well.
Got it. All right, I think that is the majority of my questions. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end it.